All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Monday, August 25th, 2025, and want to run over some of the top headlines and at least a couple things from the weekend. So, CNN, CIA News, all day very much focused on the latest in the Kilmar Abrego Garcia debacle. Of course, it's been a huge focus since April with the Trump administration, factoring in with the deportations. And of course, there's been a lot of, you know, scandalous things about this, including the Trump administration photoshopping MS-13 tattoos on his hands. And just think about how pathetic that is. I mean, right there, just where could an administration possibly have any credibility after photoshopping tattoos? Anyway, we're going to go over all these headlines, why Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, the first two Trump Supreme Court appointments back in 2017, or God, was Kavanaugh in 2018? Gorsuch was right away, and then Kavanaugh, I think, might have been 2018. But his first two Supreme Court appointments, why they're threatening lower courts who are going against Trump, why that's happening today, why the South Korean leader is meeting with Trump today, why Lil Nas X has now been charged in the underwear saga over, I guess it happened last Thursday, but in remaining days, or in recent days, and again, of course, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Again, like we demonstrate literally every day, it's news by the numbers all day, every single day. And today, the 25th of August, the majority of the world writes it 25/8, like 258. Again, you learn gematria, you start to see through what's going on. And let's just start with Lil Nas X because, of course, in recent years, he put out the 666 pairs of Satan shoes, paying tribute to the number of the beast. And now on this day, he's got legal charges against him after the underwear saga in Los Angeles, which we covered just a couple days ago. If you missed that, I'll quickly recap it here in a bit. But notice, in Gematria, number of the beast equals 258. The guy who's associated himself with the number of the beast having a tough day, at least in the headlines. And with regards to 258, it also connects with Order of Illuminati, which is what the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who founded it, ended up calling it. And we've talked about this number a lot with major rituals in the past. Before it was called Order of Illuminati, it was called the Bavarian Illuminati. And just for the record, what happened to Lil Nas X today with the legal charges, it's also the 139th day of his age. We're going to come back to that because we're going to talk about the Jewish actor from The Sopranos who died over the weekend. And we're going to remind where all these major Sopranos actors' deaths do align with the Jesuit order and the Illuminati. Again, the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt way back on May 1st, 1776, just before the American Revolution. As for the South Korean leader being in Washington, D.C. with Trump today, it's the 261st day of his age. The United States of America equals 261. Pretty big number with the nation's capital. The cornerstone was laid for D.C. on the 261st day of the year, September 18th, 1793. Same day in history the CIA was created. Same day in history recently that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, which was also the Jewish New Year that year, only to be replaced by the Catholic Amy Coney Barrett. Of course, the Jesuits served the Catholic Church. If you've seen the Da Vinci Code, you know all about the Illuminati and the Catholic connection. The leader of South Korea, it's also 105 days before his upcoming birthday, like Order of Illuminati, the small way is 105. Again, if you're new here, Gematria, 4 base ciphers of the English language, all based on the alphabetic order. The order from A is 1 up to Z is 26. The alphabetic order in reverse from Z is 1 back to A is 26. And both orders with numerology applied. You want to know all 4 of these ciphers. You'll see through the rituals. But another thing about August 25th, it is the day leaving 128 days left in the year. Notice, Trump's first 2 Supreme Court picks are threatening lower courts today. Lower courts equals 128. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Speaking of lower courts, lower courts have been challenging what Trump's doing there, including today's headline. But that story is connected to Maryland, which, of course, equals 128. And I'm sure you remember the Baltimore bridge collapse at 1:28 a.m. back on Nancy Pelosi's birthday, a Baltimore native whose father was once the 41st mayor of Baltimore, who had the same birthday as Francis Scott Key, going with the bridge collapse being the Francis Scott Key Bridge. But yeah, that was 1:28 a.m. in Maryland. And notice how the word immigration is also 128. So again, this is what's dominating the news today. The Maryland case connected to immigration on the day leaving 128 days left in the year. Again, as the Supreme Court says, or at least two members, Trump's guys, say, don't mess with us, lower courts, or the top dog will punish you. And in light of today also having that beast connection, number of the beast, 258, 25th of the 8th month. Again, in the base ciphers, notice the overlap with Beast, Judge, Gavel, Trump, Maryland, how they're all there. And don't forget, Trump does run on Mega, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. And you can see also how Beast, Judge, Gavel, Maryland, Trump, they're all 88 as well. You can see that overlap. So, Beast and Maryland also tie in. The Trump administration trying to send this man now to Africa, to Uganda. One of the many nations in the world carved up after the world wars. But yeah, just quick and dirty of top headlines today, why all this stuff is in the news today. And then to go a little bit deeper on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia thing. Again, the day leaving 128 days left in the year. We could run back over the Baltimore bridge collapse. If you forgot that one, it also collapsed 128 days from Francis Scott Key's birthday at 1:28 a.m., the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It was also 128 days from Biden's birthday, and bridge collapse equals 128. You might remember January 28th when the Pittsburgh bridge collapsed, the day Biden was in town to talk infrastructure. That was the Fern Hollow Bridge. Fern Hollow also equals 128, like bridge collapse. But yeah, the latest one was in Maryland. And again, I'm just bringing it up because today leaves 128 days left in the year. And once again, all attention's on Maryland. But the Kilmar Abrego Garcia story, it really got big on April 14th, the anniversary of Lincoln getting shot. And from that day, from the day that this story got hot, and it's been an ongoing story since then, to today is 133 days. Remember, president equals 133, like White House, like government. And if you weren't here in 2015, again, the first time that they had the debate on Fox News, the stat that they put up during the debate was this right here, that Trump was the 133rd richest man in the nation. I did a video that night, the night of that debate, and I said, oh my God, is this how they're going to follow up Obama? They're going to give us The Apprentice as the president. I said, you know, you got to do something special. We had the first black president. We need something almost. How can you be as interesting as that? Oh, how about a celebrity reality TV show, Hollywood actor? I mean, we've had that before with Reagan, and that was the thing. You had all the parallels to Reagan, but that's what they put up when Trump first took the stage on Fox News. Before a word came out of his mouth, just on the sub thing, it said Trump, 133rd richest man in the nation. And then shortly after that, they made a big deal about Fox News. I mean, they promoted it like it was the Super Bowl. Trump's upcoming 133rd appearance on Fox. I remember all this stuff like it was yesterday. And realize this video right here is just a few days before I did that video in February 2016 explaining why Trump was going to be the president. And again, you know, it's just there's been a million more rituals since with the same numbers. But here we are again. You know, the Trump administration now really dialing it up. Oh, okay, we deported him and now he got brought back. Now we're sending him to Africa. You know what I mean? But yeah, 133 days since this story really hit. And just those familiar numbers, president, White House, and government. And just to pull up the base ciphers, again, just to make it super obvious, Maryland, again, has the 47 as well. Just like just like president, just like White House, just like government, just like authority, just like the letters DC, just like the name Trump, right? So how all of this fits together so perfectly. None of it's by accident. Of course, Maryland's also close to the nation's capital. But then the judge who's involved in today's news, the same judge who was in the news April 14th is the same news The same judge in the news today. Before, she tried to stop his deportation back in April. Now she's trying to stop his deportation to Uganda. And it's Judge Paula Zenas. And notice, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, 88. Judge Paula Zenas, 88. Maryland, 88. Trump, 88. You know what I mean? The bridge collapsed at 1:28 a.m. That was the 88th minute of the day. Today's also the 218th day of the Trump administration. And remember, Trump in all capital letters in the cap cipher is 218. There's been a lot of Trump rituals with 218 as well. And just the thing is just I've been a broken record about all of these numbers with Trump over all these years. Again, here's a post from way back in 2015. What is it about this guy? This was CNN's headline back then. This is older than the Gematriator calculator. What is it about this guy? 88. And God, back then I didn't know reverse gematria. Look at the 119. What day did they call the election for him that year? Of course, they called it on November 9th. And he talks to the sheep 11 and 9 in the years before that. The commercial that showed that he was going to win the election on that day. 263 is the 56 prime big Jesuit number, like he was a big Jesuit. 2020, his last full year in office, was 56 years after his Jesuit education began. And remember when he declared the state of emergency for the U.S. on Friday the 13th, 2020, a date with 56 numerology. But yeah, what is it about this guy? Back then I was focused on the first two ciphers on the left, and it was just nonstop 88 with Trump right out of the gate, and it's never stopped. Again, the biggest 88 story that everyone probably knows at this point is the Mar-a-Lago raid, but there were 1,088 stories with Trump way before that. And what's going on right now? Exact same stuff over and over. And again, that's why they're using Maryland right now for this story. So, and just about the whole 47 thing, don't forget that border wall equals 47. All right, border wall 47 for Trump. Now he's number 47. All of this factors together, the immigration and all that. Okay. So Trump's big threat today to deploy the National Guard to Chicago. And also today, the other National Guard headline is the National Guard was in D.C., but they weren't carrying weapons, just standing around looking, intimidating in fatigues. Now that today they're carrying weapons. So you got a standing army in the nation's capital, something that was never supposed to happen in the United States of America. Again, Trump said, make America great again, but is that really a fair slogan, or is this like make America into something it wasn't ever supposed to be? So Trump, he's just, got to deploy the military. But look at this. He first ordered the military deployed to Los Angeles on June 7th. Remember, we covered that, and King equals 67, and it was the first time the National Guard was deployed to Los Angeles since the Rodney King riots. There were more layers to that, but June 7th, 6-7, like King 67. And anyway, that was 79 days before his threat today. National Guard is 79, and we know what 79 goes with. I didn't even put it up here. I meant to. But Society of Jesus, that's the Jesuits. Trump's Jesuit educated. Today is 79 days before their leader, a military order, right? As Trump threatens to put military in the streets of America. And this goes back to what Jefferson and Adams warned about, that, if the Jesuits come out of suppression, which happened a long time ago now, it happened when James Madison was the president, that they could subvert the nation. And I think it was subverted a long time ago, but it's just becoming more and more obvious. You see these people work at a slow pace, but as time goes on, they just keep chipping away. A lot of things that weren't supposed to happen. Again, I always think Thomas Jefferson must be the most important founder, just because all the ideas that he put out there. He said, if you ever have a central bank, you don't have a nation. He warned about the Jesuits. A lot of things he said are 1,000,000% true. And again, the man understood. The man clearly understood, Thomas Jefferson, the things that would ruin the nation. And this nation has severely been ruined. And now you got this Jesuit Trump in office, wrapped in the flag and doing all these things that are actually horribly un-American. And again, trying to be like a dictator too, and trying to use as much power as he can from one office and going around everything else, you know. But anyway, how perfect, right? 79 days after deploying the National Guard to LA, a threat for Chicago. And this is synced with the Superior General's 77th birthday, where military police is 77. And of course, he deployed the military police in the nation's capital on the 77th meridian. And for the record about military police, another interesting thing about that, since this is becoming a signature part of Trump's second term, you see the 211, just like The Apprentice is 211. And of course, 211 is the 47th prime number, going with Trump and government and authority and DC and all that. But yeah, on the same day they start carrying guns in the military in DC. It's kind of ironic because if you go down to Mexico, like you'll see military police and stuff because of the cartel. So as Trump, makes derogatory statements here and there about Mexico and Mexicans, he's making America, in a sense, more like Mexico. Also, him challenging the governor of Illinois today. Today's the 237th day of the year. The governor of Illinois is J. Robert Pritzker, whose name equals 237. So what a day to challenge him. President Trump said Monday that the U.S. military is ready to go to any city to crack down on crime, even if the governor does not request its assistance. Trump signed an executive order at the White House to create a specialized National Guard unit that could be deployed to assist local law enforcement in Washington, D.C. and potentially around the U.S. in quelling civil disturbances and ensuring the public safety and order whenever the circumstances necessitate. We want to go from here to other places, but I was telling some of the people that in a certain way you really want to be asked to go. You know, I hate to barge in on a city and then be treated horribly by corrupt politicians and bad politicians, Trump said while signing several executive orders. Like he's not the worst politician ever. Remember, you guys, day one, he had all the tech billionaires back there, including the Oracle leader, who just a few months earlier had talked about how AI is getting to a point where he sees a future utopia where everybody's made to wear a camera and the AI keeps tabs on surveillance of everything at all times to make sure everybody's on their best behavior. Again, this military police state, never been so clear as it has in 2025. And again, that's not what America was ever supposed to be, because people with brains understand that when you have that kind of power and intimidation, it can be exploited. And sure, maybe the regular folks are held to a standard, but what about the people at the top who hold the switches to said cameras? And if they want to do some wrongdoing, can just flip them off. And they know they live in a society where they can report to you, well, this strange thing happened, but coincidentally, all the cameras were off there and nobody will even think twice about it. How many times have we seen a story like that? Mass shooting here, but there were no cameras on. We get the first black mayor in a minute in New York. Remember, the first one was the first black mayor in New York history was the 106, like Black's 106. They don't talk about that on 106 in Park. But anyway, you get Eric Adams in there, who they've done a ton of race rituals with, including recently wearing the 42 hat 42 days before his birthday, which funny enough was on my 42nd birthday. But again, just a million things of black history in 42. But just remember, slavery is also 102, like the American Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year, and subway shooting is, or what was it? Hold on. It's New York subway shooting. That's what it was. 'Cause I just remember that's how the headline was. Remember, shortly after Eric Adams became mayor, you had the New York subway shooting on the anniversary of the start of the American Civil War, the 102nd day of the year. And they said a black guy was responsible for the shooting, but there was no proof because the cameras were out. It's like, oh yeah. What a story. What a story. It sells the same narrative they want for everybody, that the guns are bad, okay? We got to undermine the Second Amendment. I'll never forget Anderson Cooper on December 14th, 2012, like this, holding up a picture of an owl, saying, a student drew this today after the shooting at SH, and student said here, he wrote on the back of this picture of a big owl, he said, wouldn't it be nice if only police and military could carry guns in America? Yeah. God. Wouldn't it be nice if people weren't so dumb to fall for this bullshit news that works every day to get people to cheer for undermining what the country was supposed to be about? Here we are where we're overtaxed. We're taxed on our income, our property, things that were not supposed to happen. The First and Second Amendment have just been trampled all over. We were warned in the beginning not to celebrate political parties. Almost everybody's completely invested in their political party and doesn't even really think about anything. Just automatically, they're all voting blue this time. They're all voting red this time. And you see how that works. You know, the people who voted blue, man, they couldn't stand the wars in the Middle East until Obama got in there and the Democrats took over every branch of government and escalated the wars, and then they didn't care anymore. They're like, well, I guess it's not that big of a deal because we're all blue right now. It's the same thing with all these political parties, you know. You know, the blue people, they used to be very against big pharma and were more like into health food and alternative medicine, but then somehow the scamdemic comes and all the blue people are like really into big pharma, and then all of a sudden all the blue people in Seattle are just so into big pharma. It's like, what the hell? Do you guys even have any independent thought? Do you actually stand on anything that you even claim to say that you're about? Or is it just whatever your authority is telling you, that the authority you've chosen, the news network you've chosen to watch, the political party you've chosen to think is better? That's a rhetorical question because the answer is obvious. No, these people will go along with anything. And same thing with the Republican Party. Republicans, we are the fiscal conservatives. And every time they get in there, they spend more money than anybody's ever done in all the years combined of administrations. And that really goes for both sides of the political aisle, but the Republicans do it every time. So Trump made all these big promises for day one that he was going to get done on day one. And he hasn't got a single one of them done. And again, cracking down on illegal immigration, to me, that's not even a good policy because it's super expensive. It builds the police state. And what we really need to look at is how all this illegal immigration happened in the U.S. And it goes way back before Trump or Biden or Obama. It goes back to the early 90s when NAFTA was passed, a bill that was sure to sink pretty much all the farmers south of the United States. And that's exactly what it did. And it destroyed a lot of hardworking people who now had no alternative but to pretty much come north where the jobs were or become part of the cartel. So anyway, and then that's just the sick thing too is just you got a guy like Trump, you know, stirring up all this speech about how bad these illegals are when that's not really true. I mean, I'm sure there are some bad illegals because there's a lot of illegal immigrants here, but it's very obvious that most of them are just hardworking people that came here to work. And I live in a town where there's a lot of Hispanics, not a lot speak English. There's probably less illegals because you've seen a lot of arrests around here, but again, there are people who come here to work. And as people know, Latinos are hardworking people, man. They'll be busting their ass, 100 and some degrees out here, black roof, hot as hell. These guys are, you know, they're not even taking any breaks. They're getting the roof on in the day. So there's a reason. There's a reason. In other news, HBO. No one's going to question the death of a 96-year-old, right? Man, 96, amazing. How'd you live that long? I want to know the secrets. But who's to say that he wasn't going to live longer? Because take a look at this. Jerry Adler, known as Hesh on The Sopranos, sometimes known as the Jew. Look at this, you guys. Born February 4th, dead August 23rd on the 201st day of his age, right? And he died on a Saturday. That's the day that Jews worship, right? Jewish mysticism is 201. That's where this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from, Kabbalah. And again, it was adopted into the Catholic Church after the Crusades, and the Jesuit Order's a Catholic-Jewish alliance. And HBO, which The Sopranos was on, was founded by the Jesuit Dolan, who died just before New Year's by the numbers, but the Jesuit Order 201. And he died on a Saturday. Remember, Saturn worship is 201. Sacrifice to Saturn is 201. Saturnian order is 201. And Don't forget the Order of Illuminati is also 201. Again, that was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who ended up dying in history 201 days after the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment. But also, you see how 201 is the 154th composite number? Jerry Adler, 154, right? So how perfect for him to die on the 201st day of his age. And he did die on 56 date numerology. And, you know, the Jesuit order is also known as the Society of Jesus. And that has the 56 connection. HBO also has the 56 connection. Home box office also has the 72 and 54 connection, like Jesuit order. And don't forget that Tony Soprano, he died the year of the first Jesuit pope in Italy back in 2013, and he died 99 days after Pope Francis became the first Jesuit pope. Sopranos is 99. The show came out in 99. Remember, Pope Francis, the first Jesuit, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, his birth name, also 201, and now he ended up dying 201 days from St. Francis of Assisi's death anniversary, and he was named after St. Francis of Assisi, who created the Franciscan order, which was the precursor to the Jesuits. But yeah, in the deaths of Tony Soprano, and I can't think of Frank, I forget what Frank's name was, but he also died from the Sopranos. His death was perfectly synced with Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini, and the connection was these perfect Illuminati numbers. This has taken me longer than I meant to. I'll try and pull up that post. But yeah, here's the other thing about the Jewish character dying from The Sopranos. Did I forget to put the screenshot up here? I did. Here, let me put the screenshot up here. Unless I put it up. Did I put it up higher? I forgot to put it up here. All right, the Sopranos ended on June 10th, 2025. To his death was 74 days later, right? We've seen this one 1,000 times. Jewish equals 74, like killing, like gematria, like English, like occult, and the list goes on, of course. Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables. We're talking about the Society of Jesus, Jesus from Judea. But another 74 killing ritual, Gematria, the killing name, the song by Slipknot. Not to mention he's a Brooklyn, New York guy. And don't forget, Etsy killed me on the 74th day of the year back on the Ides of March. What year was that? 2019. It's 2019. They cut off my best source of income on the 74th day of the year. I got smashed. And if you remember what happened that day, it was the day of the mosque shootings in New Zealand. I put out 2 videos that day. They both had over 500,000 views within probably... I posted them back to back because as soon as I finished the one, I realized things and I put out another video. Both of those videos had 500,000 views within a matter of hours, and they were climbing. They both ended up getting deleted. I ended up getting suspended, and my book ended up getting banned, like all boom, boom, boom in the same day. And that wasn't unusual to get views like that back then, but that was just, you know, that was a very annoying day. 2 successful videos, both growing up in the views, and all of a sudden you're suspended, and then all of a sudden your revenue's cut off because the best thing I had going back then were the book sales. My book sold very well on Etsy out of Brooklyn, but Brooklyn-based Etsy banned it that very day for undisclosed reasons. And again, I literally had over 1,000 reviews on Etsy. Like all but one were 5-star, and the one that wasn't 5-star seemed like it was supposed to be a 5-star review because it was a very nice written review. You know, like when you click reviews, how you like drag your mouse and you click 3 or 5 stars and right side. It seemed like they accidentally clicked 3 stars because everything they wrote didn't make sense out of 3 stars. It was like anyway, the point was the book was super well reviewed and just banned out of nowhere on the 74th day of the year. All right, so Jerry Hadler, yeah, gone at 96. A death that nobody will question. And again, sometimes I wonder if these people even die on the day they said they did. Sometimes I think they just report for the perfect ritual. Also, over the weekend, Cal Raleigh breaks the catcher home run record. And how many times I told you guys out Seattle in 94, right? Like a million, right? Like 1,094 Seattle rituals. So he hit his 49th home run for the record 94 days before his birthday. He did it yesterday, 94 days before his birthday, right? Seattle, Washington, 94. So many things with Seattle 94. I mean, won their only Super Bowl in the 94 season, the whole pandemic, Kurt Cobain in 94, 94 days after Bill and Melinda got married, etc., etc. Russell Wilson's grandpa dies at 94 after he wins the 94 season. Bill Gates' mother dies in the year 94. His father dies at age 94. Since we are on 25/8, don't forget that his father died on the 258th day of 2020. It was a leap year that day. He's got that 201. You know, there's quite a few words that have the 201 and 96 if you go through it. So I wonder about that with Hadler, you know, dying at 96 on the 201st day of his age. I'll say that for another time. But anyway, the word home run's also 94. And as for Cal Raleigh hitting his 49th for the record, how about Cal Raleigh 49, like Washington, where the Mariners are? And remember, earlier this year, he became the first catcher to win the home run derby, and that was the 31st MLB home run derby. Catcher wins it. He was also the favorite to win it, so it wasn't much of a payout. But my favorite Cal Raleigh ritual this year was, if you go back to June 20th, it was 206 days after Cal Raleigh's birthday on the 20th day of the 6th month, like 20/6. It was 206 days after his birthday. Seattle's the 206 area code. They were facing the Cubs. We knew he was a lock for a home run, and he ended up hitting 2 that day to get his 29th, like his jersey number, like how this ritual is synced with his upcoming 29th birthday. Yeah, Cal Raleigh hit 2 home runs for number 29 that day versus the Chicago Cubs in the ultimate 206 ritual. First game on the slate that day. I'll just pull it up for you. I remember it like it was yesterday. By the way, he came off a monster weekend, torching baseball. Gentleman turned $20 into over $1,400 this weekend off baseball. That's the power of the knowledge. Shout out to him. And by the way, he went by the handle Seahawks, so he's obviously in the Seattle, or I would assume he is. I assume he's in the Seattle area. But yeah, oh yeah, that's right. The game where Raleigh went absolutely nuts. The Mariners also won that game 9-4 from the Cubs' perspective, 4-9. I forgot about that part. Cal Raleigh broke Johnny Bench's record for home runs by a catcher before the All-Star break in that game. And then he breaks the whole record 94 days before his birthday. Cal Raleigh box score that day. 4 at-bats, 4 runs, 3 hits, 3 RBIs, 2 home runs, and a walk. Boom. So, and again, for everybody out there, like, how do you script a home run? Have you guys ever watched MLB players take batting practice? They hit the ball over the fence with ease, for one. That's one. 2, there are different cores you can get for baseballs. And they're supposed to use the same core all the time in baseball, but hey, imagine that they want to make sure the rig is in. How about use the core so that the ball flies even further off the bat, and then that's everything too. You can do things with the bats so the ball flies even further. So there's also, you know, these guys are doing signals and this, and you have no idea what they're signaling. How do you know they're not communicating? Meatball, here's where Raleigh likes to hit it, put it right in that spot so he can jack it out of the park. Because I'm pretty sure that's exactly what's going on, because it's perfect ritual after perfect ritual, day after day in the world of sports. The game is rigged, including the sports games. Again, and that's the thing too. Who are all these American sports credited to? Freemasons. What's Washington, D.C. known as, where the news unfolds by the numbers every day? The Masonic city named after the Freemason George Washington. What's Freemasonry based in? Kabbalah. Where's this whole thing of letters and numbers and dates come from? Kabbalah. I mean, it all goes together so well. And when they do put up the Albert Pike statue in October, when they put it back up, it came down. Remember, it came down 201 days before the Confederate flag flew on January 6th. I'm going to go out on a hunch and say I think they're going to do it on October 18th, the day leaving 74 days left in the year. Let me make sure there's not something that makes more sense. Let's check out Albert Pike real quick. Halloween leaves 61 days left in the year, so that means October 29th leaves 63 days. I mean, I guess that day could also work, but October 18th is the day leaving 74 days. Masonic 74, the Masonic City. To me, that makes a little bit more sense. The thing about October, though, is it's the only month that equals 33. October's 33, like masonry, like secrecy, like order, like federal. So, anyhow, let me play one of my new favorite members of our community in the sports community. He's been around for about a little more than 6 months. he's decoded a number of golf tournaments on his own, just using the knowledge. But I want you to hear this caller real quick, and then we'll take a few calls before I got to get Sweet Girl real quick. I'll play this at 1.25 to make sure it goes through quick. Actually, never mind. Something's wrong with the audio. It's not playing through right. Okay, I'll play it another time. But I just, I loved his call today. Had a nice big win using the knowledge, talking about how it wasn't that long ago that he didn't know about any of this, and he just sees the world with new vision, and he's so grateful for it, and he's enhanced his life in numerous ways, including financially. For all the people that hate on this work and say like, oh, it's bullshit and I'm a scammer, if any of you guys sincerely feel that way, again, I think you need to take a look in the mirror and realize you're the problem. This work is no scam. It is real knowledge. It can be used in so many ways. You don't have to use it to take advantage of rig sports or the market or crypto, but you can. The point is, it is real knowledge that has real use. And I've never come across anything in my life that has as many of a diversity of uses as this whole Gematria thing. Shout out to the super chatters as well. Thank you very much, Leper Messiah. Of course, thank you for the big 5. He said, "Let's get it, people." He tries the same thing every day. I love it. Hey, I love that you're always trying to make it happen. And then Big Dale comes in with another 20. Thank you too again. You guys are super generous. I can't say it enough times. Well, something's wrong with my audio setup because that didn't play through like it was supposed to. I'm not sure what's up today. That means the phone's not going to play through, so we'll do it the other way. If you guys want to call in, it is that 509 number, and I will just hold the call up to the mic, and people should hear you just fine. But, yeah, if you want to phone and make it now because, oh, wow, it's already almost 3:30. I got to go get Sweet Girl at 3:30. Trump establishing specialized National Guard units. Make America a police state rapidly. Where can I get that hat? Yeah, it is just gross. It is just gross. I feel like what happened to me on Friday should be a national news story, probably because it's happened to a million other people and people could actually benefit from that information. Be careful you have Verizon. You might have a renegade agent calling you to swap out your phone number and take over all your financial accounts. What's up, 559?
Zach, what's up, man? Got a couple of things, man. Real quick, going to the NFL. Do you think that during the preseason of the NFL, we actually get real football?
No. And then I just covered that. Man, do you guys watch the channel, man? I just covered this last week. I mean, are you on my Patreon? Obviously not. The game between the Cowboys and Falcons. We had the Falcons pegged to lose with 13 points 13 days after Deion Sanders' birthday, and the Falcons coach to get his 13th preseason loss. Dallas 13. Last Thursday night, another themed game. Tomlin, the longest tenured black coach, gets his 42nd win over the Panthers as the Giants beat the Patriots in a rematch of Super Bowl 42 with 42 points, et cetera, et cetera. No, you don't get any rigged football. You don't get any real football. It's all rigged. Preseason, regular season, it's all rigged the same way.
Wow. Another thing about that, is it safe to say that they are initiating Shedeur Sanders into the whole script here? I don't. Of
course. Again, I covered this the day he was drafted. He fell to 144 overall. His dad's born on the day, leaving 144 days left in there. He was drafted 78 days after his birthday when Cleveland equals 78, and this will be the Cleveland Browns' 78th season. Now, he was supposed to go on day 1, but he went on the next day for the perfect 78 ritual. Everything is scripted about the NFL. So you must be new here to ask me these questions in 2025. It's all totally scripted.
No. I've seen that breakdown. When you broke down when he was drafted, I've seen that whole breakdown. But I missed the one about the preseason of the NFL. So I missed that.
Yeah, go back and look at what they just did with that Falcons-Cowboys game between two Deion Sanders teams. I called it out before the game started. We said Falcons should lose with 13 and the Cowboys should win. Yeah, it should be on the Patreon, man. It's lucrative.
Right. One other thing. I have to say this about Donald Trump. Firstly, let me say this. I know that Democrat and Republic, even though they're both being controlled by the Jesuits, is it safe to say that it's just two different ways of going about business. They go about business two different ways to get to the same goal.
Who are these two different ways?
Democrats or Republicans being controlled by the Jesuits. Are they two different
ways? But how do they even go about business differently? Their rhetoric might sound different, but they govern the same way when they're in power. They all do the same things. It's just like I said, the Democrats took over every branch of government under Obama to supposedly end the wars, and then they got in there and escalated the wars. They didn't do anything different. So
that's true. That's true. Well, particularly to this thing that they're doing in Washington D.C. about these illegal immigrants. When I say illegal immigrants, I'm talking about these black ones. Now, I'm black, and I'm a black American. Family goes back to slavery in this country. If there's anything that I can agree with what Trump's doing, he needs to get these damn black immigrants out of here. They have to go. They got to go. They're flooding. What they're doing is they're replacing black Americans with these foreign blacks. And I know that that's being done by design, because this country is never going to right the wrongs of the original sin. They don't have any plans on doing that, paying reparations. They're not going to do that. So they figure we're going to wipe them out and erase them slowly through the media, through acting, football, every kind of way you can see black people. You will only now see immigrant blacks. This is very strange. This is very strategic. And it seems that these Democrats were pushing that really heavy, and Donald Trump seems to be getting these immigrants up off of our asses. Now, I'm not talking about the Mexicans. That affects us in a negative way, too. But specifically me being black, I think we got to get these Africans out of here, man. I can't stand them. I don't like them. This is me personal saying this. They are a problem for black Americans. And
but I don't really understand how they'd be a problem. How are they a problem? Like, what are they preventing black Americans from doing?
What they're doing is they're being used, and willingly too, to erase black Americans. If you look at the NFL, college football, even look at Hollywood, you will see more of these foreign blacks than you ever have in recent times. Back in the day, we always had a Hakeem Olajuwon. We always had a couple of them. But now, look at the names of these jerseys in college and the NFL. You see a bunch of Sabukwe.
Well, I mean, you can look at it's not. There's just more and more foreigners everywhere, right? Because that's about growing their brands internationally too. I mean, look at most of the white players in the NBA; they're Europeans. It's been that way for decades now. So
that's true.
Yeah, no, so I just want to say something about, because like a lot of time, Black America, you guys have tunnel vision, right? You only see things within a black framework. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, they brought a lot more immigrants in the nation from all over the place, and that is part of also making America more confusing. Because part of the thing about these immigrants, too, is they come from nations that have dictator-type governments, and they're used to just submitting to authority. I think that is part of the reason they're bringing in so many immigrants into the U.S., just people that just go along to get along, and they don't have any, rebellious spirit. But
there you go.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying from that standpoint. I'm just saying that's not only a black issue, though. I mean, stuff's going on all over the place.
Right. It's not. The immigrant thing is affecting all original Americans, but specifically, I have to get you to see this, that them bringing these people over here, they don't owe them people nothing. And what they're doing, they have to do something about us. That we've been a problem from the very beginning, and they can't send us anywhere. They can't do any of that. They came up in the 60s with the benign neglect policy. Are you familiar with that?
I got to go in a minute, but tell me about that real quick, because actually I don't think I'm familiar with that.
The benign neglect policy, I forget the president, they wanted to figure out how do we deal with these Negroes who were causing all this hell. In the 60s, niggas was turning up, doing all kind of wild shit. They said, how do we deal with this? The way to deal with it is to stop talking about black issues and put the issues on immigrants, minorities, women, gays, etc. So by doing that, you will see that since the 60s, they never really used the term black. And even if they do use that term, it's coupled with something else, always black and brown, black and LG, black minorities. That covers the whole gamut. When we are nothing like any of these other people. We are not minorities. This country would never have come into existence without black Americans. And they know that. So the way that they have to get rid of us now is by erasing us silently. And now they've gotten smart by bringing in these black immigrants. They know these black immigrants have no connection to our lineage. They don't give a damn what my people have been through here. They're just getting out of that shithole that they come from. And they come over here and they work against us. I see Africans as my enemy. That's honestly how I see them. Now,
well, I understand your sentiment to a degree, but I would try not to look at it that way, because realize a game is being played against us. Our only real enemy is our government that's doing these policies, and they know the problems they're purposely creating, and that's what they want. They want people pitted against each other and not seeing the people at the top who are instigating these purposeful divisions in society. So
you're right. Damn, there was something else I had to ask you, but I forgot, man. So I'm going to go ahead and step down, man.
All right. I got to get a sweet girl, but appreciate the call, man. Thank you.
All right, Zach.
All right, take care. Now, what he's talking about, I see a lot of videos on YouTube, like the foundational black Americans versus what they call the tethers, the immigrants coming over here. Again, this is all the purposeful chaos they're creating, and realize most of these immigrants that they bring to our country are places where we've got involved militaristically and help instigate problems there, and then we bring people over to America as refugees from the countries that we've created problems in. It's like we go there and create a problem, then the people want to escape the country because of the problem, and then we bring them here. And I mean, there is something nice to that. Coming to the land is supposedly milk and honey, the land of opportunity, but yeah, we're doing all this stuff all over the world, and then the people who don't get taken care of are the people who were born here. And it's, I'll make the point with even my own sweet lady, you know. She came over here as a refugee from Burma. Burma has the longest going civil war. Coming over here as a refugee, now she had to earn it. You don't just get it for free. You got to prove and maintain high GPAs and all this. But if you do that as a foreign student and a refugee, man, you're open to all kinds of financial incentives. For undergrad, for graduate school. I mean, most people don't have anything for graduate school. And, I mean, is that right? Why shouldn't a born American who has a really high I mean, yeah, sure, there's grants and scholarships that you can get, but there's just more if you're not from America. And it's, again, you say, how is that really fair? I mean, we're the ones paying the taxes. I mean, why isn't there... Yeah, there's a reason that, and like I said, the sweet lady, she comes from a place where she understands that government's corrupt and it's all nothing but lies, but she also comes with this mindset of like, yeah, but you also should just keep your head tucked like a turtle and march along so you don't get executed. And again, I think they want to bring more people with those kind of mindsets who will just go along to get along. But anyway, I do got to go get sweet girl. I like this MSNBC quote up here from Trump. Trump on militarized cities. A lot of people are saying maybe we'd like a dictator. And yeah, I'm sure you look at the full context, it might sound a little bit different, but the guy does say things a lot like that. And yeah, it's make America something a lot different than it was supposed to be. That's what it really is. So thanks again to everyone who hit the like and the share. We got 250 people watching, 100 likes, so less than half hit the like, and I'm sure some people who were here have already left and they didn't hit the like. If you guys can hit the like, it's supposed to help this video reach new people. If you think this information deserves to reach new people, please give it a like. And when it's over, if you could leave it a short comment, even a word helps. That's supposedly also supposed to help the algorithm. Again, really bad month for views. It's hard when you're shadow banned, but you guys can make it a little bit better with a like and a comment. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.